Yesterday I was reading, and while I was reading, I had the news on in the background. I always have the news on in the background. And I heard an interview by Nicole Wallace. She was interviewing somebody about the recent uprising in Iran. And when I looked to the screen, I saw the person she was interviewing, and I was like, I know that person. That person is from, what's it called? The Rings of Power, the new Lord of Rings series. And then I immediately started thinking about, what I thought about that series, especially in relationship to the House of Dragon, the new Game of Thrones series. I can't not compare these two whenever I think about one. And I've just become thoroughly disappointed with the new Lord of the Rings series. I'm baffled by what's going on there. These guys, they spent $250 million just for the rights to produce this story. Just for the rights. You'd think if they're going to spend that kind of money just for the rights, they might want to get it right. It's kind of a mess to me. Like, geez, some of the acting is really pedestrian. The dialogue uh, is sometimes just like unfathomably stupid. I don't know what is. I honestly don't know what's going on there. It feels like it feels like they like the screenplay was an afterthought to the dramatic effects they wanted to use. It seems like the story in the storyboard that they just push their characters around. Like, all right, I want to be able to do these effects in this upcoming scene, and I want to show the city. So just take one of our characters and put them there because they need to be there so that I can show this city. I mean, that's the way it feels to me. Excuse me. Like the dialogue, the screenplay itself is just an afterthought to the enormity of the production they want to do. And what an enormous production it is, too. They're spending something like 150 million a season, which puts the price tag for this at $1 billion, the most money ever spent on a televised series. Anyway, totally sidetracked. Yeah, so I saw this person. I don't know what her name is, but I definitely recognize her. And I found her really interesting, and I want to try to deduce who she is from listening to this interview. And I'm going to record this now, just going along with it. If this is interesting, whatever I end up saying is interesting, I'll upload it. If it ends up being really stupid, I'm obviously just going to trash it. But I want to figure out who this woman is.
So I'm fortunate enough to have a channel whereby they can communicate with me. So I receive hundreds of messages, particularly from younger Iranians. I'm talking teens to probably mid to late 20s, who are just telling me that they're in dire straits, that they need us to continue amplifying their voices, urging the media, the global media, not to give up on them. We've seen these protests crack down brutally in the past, and they became part of history. They never were managed to get anywhere. They didn't attain the freedom they wanted. So they are begging us to please be their voice and please continue covering this.
All right, so stop right there. Her name is Nazamin. Got to try to remember that.
I mean, what we're seeing is they're being bludgeoned with batons. They're being hit with pellets and bullets, live ammunition. There's no mercy. This regime is cracking down brutally, as it has in the past. The difference, of course, is now people are starting to fight back. You've got the protesters toppling down vans, patrol vans, attacking security forces, tearing down posters. This is very significant. Banners of Ayatollah Khomeini, the founder of the Islamic Republic, and Qasem Soleimani. And these are unprecedented images of women burning their headscarves. They've taken them off and waved.
All right, so what is that accent? I'm not great with accents, but it gives me a lot of difficulty. She sounds, I don't think that's quite posh British. She probably was in southern England, but I don't know what that is because it feels like there's other things in there. My impression is that Obviously, she's Iranian, but I don't feel as if she's lived much of her life in Iran. I presume her formative years and all of her education was probably in England. Could be wrong. There may be some years that weren't in England, but the majority of them were. And what is affecting that accent? I think she probably lived in Iran after her formative years. She might have lived in Iran for a little while. I get the distinct impression she's probably lived elsewhere in Europe. I got to hear her some more.
That's a really great question. You know, before 1979, women, what people may not know, this is not a cultural norm. Cultural norms don't need to be enforced, using batons, imprisonment, and the threat of death. Before 1979, women coexisted in peace, wearing hijabs or not wearing hijabs. It was free to choose. After 1979, the Islamic Republic basically took away, stripped women of multiple rights, many rights. Right now, women don't have not only bodily autonomy, they're segregated from men in the workplace, in the classroom, at beaches. They're not.
Man, there is a ton to unpack there. She, on the subject itself, she is apparently very, very knowledgeable on it. Like, this is not just an actress who has a cause. This is, and not to, speak badly of other actors or public figures that have causes that they take up. I think that's great. This isn't just a cause to her. This is part of her life. She's very much aware of the facts on the ground. No doubt about that. She probably has been involved with this issue for some time, long before she became an actress. And that might, so maybe I'm correct that she did move back to Iran after her formative years. I get the impression, I still believe she's lived elsewhere in Europe, not just traveled, but lived in she's probably very artistic. She's probably lived in places like Zurich or Vienna or something like that, hubs of culture. And she may have studied somewhat in those hubs as well.
It comes to family law and divorce and child custody, the man has the final say. Women are not equal to men before the law. And so the compulsory hijab has really become a symbol of the greater fight for freedom for women. And women in Iran are hugely educated, far more educated than the men, actually. So you're seeing people protest more because they know that what they're facing is unfair and unjust. And they demand the freedoms that we all enjoy outside of Iran, many countries enjoy, and often take for granted. And I think this bodily autonomy is something that's resonated with women outside of Iran, particularly in the West. And so we owe it to our sisters in Iran to stand by them.
What is it that we can do? I mean, I think people are so stirred by the images and just to think of what they risk by being out there. Sometimes we take those rights for granted here, and we shouldn't. But what is it that we can do from here?
Absolutely. That's another great question. So basically what we're calling for is keep Mahsa Amini's name alive. Be very conscious of spelling it in the hashtag. You may think a hashtag doesn't do anything, but we've reached now over 85 million tweets using that hashtag, which has amplified the message. And the message is that Iranian people want freedom. They want an end to this horrible oppression of women that they're facing. But moreover, that there's more, it's now become more than that. We just want freedom. People inside the country want freedom. And so the more we amplify that, the more news gets out. But more important than that is that we have to each contact our representatives wherever we may be, whether we're in Europe or America, and make sure we tell them.
This is not just a cause for her. This is something she's very much aware of. Looking in the room she's in, she's obviously not at home. She might be I don't even know what that is. It's a sub room in what looks like kind of it's a really nice office complex. And obviously nobody lives in that room. There's a TV in a bay window. Nobody puts a TV in a bay window if you live there, if the sun's shining in like that. she's looked down to her left a couple times. I presume at her left is her keys, maybe a note card, and her wallet. She's traveled there, and she's already. I don't know if she's thinking about it, but she'll be leaving that place once this interview is done. So it could be the agency that represents her, because I'm sure they have some great technology, video technology there. Like, this is a great feed she has. Also, about her personally, I get the impression she does not have children, and she might be married, but that is of little cause to the person that she is. She's completely a self-possessed person, very much in the moment. Yeah, I'm definitely going with she's lived in continental Europe.
We demand an international investigative mechanism to hold the leaders of the Islamic Republic to account. We don't have adequate human rights governance in the world to do that, and we have to be decisive and unified.
Stop there. Yeah, she did look down to her note card. She probably has names of organizations that she just looked at really quick, but she doesn't need it because she has it in her head. She has all this information in her head. She's very aware of what's going on. I am struck by the idea that she's more than just an actress. She's an artist of some sort, maybe a musician. She knows multiple languages, obviously. Aside from Farsi and English, she probably, I don't know if it's the Romantic languages, some of the languages of Europe. She probably speaks many languages, my guess. What else? Let me listen to her some more.
In facing the Islamic Republic, just as we were with Putin in Ukraine.
I had to stop there. I mean, she's asking for a lot. I love the idea. That's a lot to ask for. Not only is she on point, but she's done this many times before. I'm guessing with European television stations. She's done a lot of interviews in Europe about this. She's not only is she used to it, but I think earlier she said to Nicole Wallace, that's a very good question. Like, she's used to this interplay. She's very good at it. I think another factor in her life story is probably that she does have extended family in Iran, obviously, but her immediate family, there had to have been some amount of money for her to obtain the lifestyle she did. I presume that, her parents or immediate relatives were involved in some type of, maybe international business, international trading, something like that. Something that could afford them the ability to live in multiple places. Born in Iran and raised in London. That was correct. She went to university in the United States. I never would have guessed that. Less than a month after birth. Yeah, that's for sure. A political refugee in London, so it wasn't necessarily because of money. Oh, check that out. Violin and ballet as a young girl. Yes, I had that right. She got a degree in California. It's hard to believe. Wait, what the fuck? And biological sciences? What? She won the Chang Ping-chun Undergraduate Research Award for molecular research involving cancer treatment. What the hell? She's fucking brilliant. Oh, she's been in a lot. I didn't know she's been around acting. All right. Activist. Yeah, she's been an activist for Amnesty International. She's been at this a long time. She has her own official blog. Yeah, she's done a lot. The lady is brilliant and also very involved. Writing op-eds for the Washington Post. Oh, she only speaks English and Farsi. I was incorrect. She doesn't have other languages. That's hard to believe. Ah, look at that. Since she and her parents fled in her infancy, she's only visited Iran once as a teenager. What? She was a Scientologist? What? Oh my God.